I've gone ahead and riveted the firewall into place. This is a, I believe, 90 thousandths thick versus the 40 thousandths thick. I've already pre-drilled the holes in it for the mechanical oil and water temperature gauges. All of that's been test fit already. We've got a nice brush finish on the front. We're using a protectant called shark hide to keep the aluminum from oxidizing too quickly. And this is our fuel pressure regulator. As you can see, the plastic OEM type fuel lines with the quick release type connectors. So you have one solid hose from the front of the car all the way to the back. Very lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to use. On the front, we've already got the line lock solenoid installed, and it also works as a T-fitting to separate the left and the right for the front brake system. We've also loosely fit the front suspension and front brakes. We have the pin drive adapters in the front. Now the control arm bolts and front suspension bolts are not yet torqued to spec, because we'll actually set the car on the ground at ride height, and when we do our initial alignment is when we'll torque all of those bolts to spec. That way everything is tightened in the same position the car will be when it's a finished running product. And we've run the front brake line. Obviously these Clecos will be replaced with permanent fasteners as the car goes together. So we're using the EBC green stuff brake pads and stainless steel sleeves inside the stock calipers. We've got some of the aluminum panels riveted into place, and we've also started to put the heat insulation towards the footwell area. This is a Ford crate engine. It's a 306 cubic inch, has aluminum heads. We've installed a dual quad Edelbrock intake manifold, twin Edelbrock 4-barrel carburetors, give it that vintage 1960s hot rod look. It's got ceramic coated long tube headers. We're using the urethane energy suspension engine mounts so the engine doesn't rock too much. Got the fuel system plumbing buttoned up on it. And we've started working on the linkage. This car is going to have mechanical linkage, as you can see across the firewall here. We'll be using mechanical linkage for the accelerator for the carburation. The Factory 5 standard kit comes with a cable. But this car, we're going after a vintage feel and look, so we're mocking up, that's what this aluminum here is for, we're mocking up the length right now of all of our pieces to make the linkage up. These steel pulleys and bracket for the alternator are just in mock-up modes right now, so once everything is fitting nicely, what we'll do is we'll remove those pieces and have them blasted and powder painted before they go on for the final assembly. We also have heat shielding in the foot box area. This would be the front of the passenger foot box, and then along the inner sides here. This is ceramic insulation. We use it both on the inside and the outside. Turn here, as you can see, we're also using it on the inside. We've also tapered the floor on the passenger side, which gives us a nice gap here and allows us to add more insulation. We've lengthened and widened the footwell, just make for a more comfortable ride in the car. Now we've momentarily installed the dash, doing that to make sure we're happy with the fit of all the instrumentation, that we have all of our switches in the correct places, everything's the way we want it to be. And now that we've done that, we'll be ready to remove it and add the upholstery to it. The transmission was installed along with the engine. This is a T5 5-speed overdrive transmission with a Pro 5.0 adjustable stop shifter. You can also sort of make out here our dry shaft safety loop. The tabs are welded to the frame, and then the loop itself is bolted to the tabs to help gain access to the drive shaft if we ever need to remove it, maybe do a clutch change or service work. The steering column is loosely set into place so that we can adjust the height and the depth of it, get it where we're comfortable. We've also installed a self-canceling turn signal switch, and yes, I do realize it's mounted towards the center of the car. This is how they were back in the 60s, so we'll be setting ours up the exact same way. We've also gone and installed the ignition switch. The ignition switch on the original car was on the left side of the steering wheel. So we've also put our Lucas style ignition switch in the same spot. The pedals have been installed. This is actually a Mustang pedal box out of a Fox body Mustang. And what we've done is we've re-arched and we've bent the arms to the pedals, removed the Ford pads, and installed these cast aluminum pads to give it a more vintage appearance, and it's also more comfortable. Gives you more space for your feet, spaces the pedals apart appropriately. Then we have our adjustable gas pedal here. Next to it on the right hand side we're using a vinyl panel. Here's a better look at our Fox body Mustang pedal assembly. Came directly out of a 5-liter Ford Mustang. And again, we've re-arched and modified the pedals to fit appropriately inside our footwell here. We've also got the heat insulation here at the front and on the outside. Got about a 2-inch gap between the header and the aluminum. Power brake booster is installed for our power brakes. Master cylinder. We have some adapters here so we can run these. These are silicone hoses with a cloth braid on them. We'll be running them to a pair of vintage appearing reservoirs so that it also has the nice 1960s vintage look and feel to it. Go along with our vintage type build that we're doing here.